Hi, my name is PK Bevel, and we are celebrating our 25th anniversary, and we're doing it in this Second Wind Dream month. So this whole month, we're doing lots of great interviews, and we're having lots of opportunities to see dreams and the Virtual Dementia Tour and some of the fantastic things that are happening with our volunteers, staff members, sponsors. And I was asked if I could pick one person that I could interview for the month, who would it be? Well, you know, it didn't take me 2 seconds to come up with the answer, and that is Chuck Brown. Chuck and I go back a lot of years, a lot of decades, but let me tell you something. There are very few people in my almost 40-year career that I have felt such a spiritual and emotional connection to than I have with Chuck. Chuck has been a supporter of Second Wind Dreams literally for decades. And I would like to introduce you to our chairman of the board, Chuck Brown. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, thank you, PK. I appreciate all those kind words.
Oh, they're all very true.
Well,
so would you tell our audience, how did you get involved with Second Wind Dreams?
Wow, this was back at the very beginning in the 90s.
Yeah.
I participated in a couple of dreams, and then the biggie that I remember was in when we had a tragedy in one of the nursing homes I was at, and you guys descended on the nursing home to take care of the residents and the staff and the families, and it was an unbelievable experience. And that's the big thing I remember. And that was 2002, and I had been involved for probably 4 or 5 years at that time, kind of just supporting things and being involved with dreams. But that's the big thing I remember that really got me really involved.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that. That was pretty intense for even us at Second Wind. That was a horrible tragedy, and yeah, we brought in massage therapists. We had cards for every resident. We had wreaths. We had a minister that came. We had all kinds of things for the staff and residents. And since then, Second Wind Dreams has been involved in a number of catastrophic assistance, from Hurricane Sandy, when some of the nursing homes up there were flooded, and we got volunteers together to bring in clothing and items and donations for them. We also, when Hurricane Katrina came through in 2005, that was a real eye-opener for me as, the founder, to see the amount of support that happened to help people during Katrina. And let's see, the most recent was a tornado that hit, but that was like 3 years ago that we assisted. But of course, now with the pandemic and coming out of it, we're not having to do as much of that. But I'm sure we'll get back to supporting elder care communities in that way. I think it's so important.
Yeah, I agree. And well, that's what Second Wind, it's all about, the communities and supporting the communities. So it's always been that way. And yeah. So that's what we do.
That's what we do. That is what we do. That was one of the founding principles of our organization, was community support. I never felt like we could treat and help all the elders and elder care communities without that support. I remember one of the first dreams that happened. We got a list of the dreams that the residents had in a elder care community in Carrollton, Georgia, and they printed that in the newspaper, what the needs were. And the next day, people came and made those dreams come true. People want to help. They
Yeah.
just don't know how. And that blew me away. And the follow-up story in the newspaper was incredible. And that was way back at the beginning when we had no name recognition or anything. People literally wanted to help. They just wanted to know how. So, so what would you say your favorite dream has been?
Wow, that is a very difficult question, because I was thinking, and I was talking to some of my staff here, and I have literally been involved in or helped plan hundreds of dreams over the years.
I know, you're amazing.
From when I was an administrator at one facility to big organizations where I got every facility involved. And I think we talked, and I think there's really two different kinds of dreams. Well, there's several different kinds, but two that stick out to me, that I would think are my favorite is one which was fun, and then one which was, the most meaningful, because we've had a lot of really meaningful dreams fulfilled. A couple of the most fun was way back when I had a patient or a resident who actually was a flight attendant. You remember on Southwest Airlines?
I do.
That was actually my grandmother's roommate.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think anybody knew that, but
no.
Oh man, and she was over the top getting to be a flight attendant.
And she did great too.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. I think NBC covered that one, right?
Yes, they did.
Yep.
And it was on Three Wishes.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And more recently with hospice patients, everything you do with a hospice patient is meaningful when you do dreams. And that's what's so important to all of our staff. And we had a young 21-year-old patient, as a matter of fact, and she wanted to meet Steve Harvey. And he came to Georgia, and we were able to make that happen one night. Amazing. So that was, I know it was huge, and he was great. And Kristen, until she passed, said that was the best day of her life. And then, we had a 28-year-old who was here in our inpatient unit that wanted to marry his best friend. And we were able to facilitate a wedding with him. That was probably one of the most meaningful we've ever done. I mean, he lived for another 13 days after that, and they got to stay together for his last 13 days. So wow, it's really tough, but I mean, being able to do something like that means everything.
And isn't it interesting? I know in my experience, frequently a dream that's come true for someone that we have served is the video. The video is shown at the funeral. Yeah. It's discussed at the funeral. It's mentioned in the program. And, that's when you realize that dreams really are eternal. There's no other way they really are eternal. Yeah. Now, I know that you are a staunch supporter of the Virtual Dementia Tour as well. And for those of you listening, the Virtual Dementia Tour is a simulation of what it might be like to have dementia. So, Chuck, what would you say is, I know you've sent literally hundreds of people through the tour over the years. What would you say is one of the biggest messages you get out of that?
Well, I think that especially people who are caring for people with, patients with dementia, family members with dementia, nobody knows what an impact it is until they go through it. A lot of people come in kind of skeptical, and think it's going to be just breeze through it, just take it in stride, and they do not realize. And when I have to admit, when I first saw the video and people were crying and stuff, I thought, I've been around this my entire career, And the first time I ever went through it, you talk about life changing. I mean, it was unbelievable. And then I've been through it multiple times, of course, and every time it's almost the same way. You just, so I had two parents with dementia. My mom really suffered with it, and then most recently I had a sister who passed with Alzheimer's, and the understanding, and I got my whole family to go through it. So the understanding, it just changes everybody. It changes your whole outlook about how to care for, how to even talk to someone with dementia. It's just, it's unbelievably powerful.
Well, listeners, I hope you have heard what this champion of elder care has said about the impact of the tour. If anyone could speak to the importance of it, it would be Chuck. So I appreciate you saying those things. As our board chair, what will be your focus during your tenure?
Well, I think that the main thing I would like to see us do is actually reach more people. I can't believe that there's anybody in the long-term care industry that doesn't know Second Wind Dreams, but it is that way.
It is.
If you're in a nursing home or even assisted living, and you don't know what Second Wind Dreams is, that's just, it's not right. And so I think that our public relations and getting the word out, expanding what we're doing with the Virtual Dementia Tour, and I'm so excited to see what you're doing with the new programs, but I don't think we reach a drop in the bucket from who we need to be reaching. And I think, again, we began talking about the community, and I think that has to be our focus. If we're publicized in the community and we're out in the community and people are learning about Second Wind Dreams and the Virtual Dementia Tour, then we're all better off, including the public and the communities. So that I think has to be our biggest focus. And I think that I've always said, if you do the right thing, everything else is going to fall into place. And I think the right thing for us to do is let everybody know who we are and what we do. And everything else is going to fall into place.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And in some ways, I think we're kind of pushing the peanut up the hill with our nose, because people don't like to talk about aging, and they don't like to talk about some of the things that go with it. But we bring such a positive spin to it. If people would just open their minds a little bit and realize, I think if you and I went out right now and we asked a group of people if they think that older adults have hopes and dreams who are living in a long-term care continuum, I would probably be willing to say that maybe 10% would say they have hopes and dreams, and 90% would say, I don't even know what you're talking about.
I agree. Awareness. That's what we've got to promote. We've got to promote awareness.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And I remember years ago when you made the first promotional video, you talked about getting the schools and getting the kids involved, and I think we've got to get back to that.
Yeah.
You get the kids involved, you get the schools involved, it involves the parents, it involves the teachers. When we've done the Virtual Dementia Tour at some of the schools here, the teachers have been just amazed at what it meant to them. Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right. Educating them from the young age. And more and more, since our healthcare world is starting to move more and more into the in-home sector, caring for our elders at home, I think we're going to get more and more kids who are dealing with grandma or grandpa who are living with dementia and being cared for in the home. And the Virtual Dementia Tour would do everything to help them see what it's like, especially with good counselors involved.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. So what does the future of Second Wind Dreams look like to you?
well, I think that bigger, reaching more people. I think you're working on some new programs. I think that we've got to continue to evolve. I think we've got to continue to have new programs, but I see the future of Second Wind Dreams reaching more people, having more participation, and just being a much bigger organization.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I envision at some point a sensitivity training institute, where people actually go in and they're trained at that institute in sensitivity for dementia, for autism, for anything where we can do a simulation. And I see a time when we have more. We have a lot of mobile VDTs in England, Wales, Ireland, and Scotland. I envision at some point we'll have some donated RVs or vans that we can take the VDT on the road and reach more people and make more dreams come true through those kinds of vehicles. Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think the future's really bright. And I think too, in an organization like ours, it's going to take obviously longer than 25 years to get to that place. And it's people like you and our board of directors and our staff and volunteers who are going to get us there. So Chuck, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
Well, all I can say is I'm excited about being the chair. I've been excited about being on the board. I think our future is bright. I think we've got a great board right now, and I think that everybody's going to see a lot out of us in the next coming year or so.
That's excellent. Well, those of you listening, I hope you've enjoyed my talk with Chuck Brown, and I hope you know that you've listened to a hero here, a hero who has dedicated his life to making the lives of others better. And it's hard to find those. So take a good, healthy look, because he's one of them. Thank you for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you on our next edition.